Having a 15-inch version of the MacBook Air is a good idea. I thought it was such a good idea that I actually wrote about it maybe about 10 or 11 years ago, and I said, oh, definitely going to have a 15-inch MacBook Air sometime soon because it really just makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of rumors about it. I was ahead of my time, I would like to think, by about 10 years, or maybe I was just, way too early and way too optimistic. But finally, 15-inch MacBook Air is here, and I'll tell you, it looks and feels. I picked it up, I typed on it, I played around with it a tiny bit. It's a MacBook Air, but slightly bigger, and that's kind of what you want. It's got the same, flat top chassis that the MacBook Pros and the MacBook Air have now. It's very thin, it's very light. I picked it up, I couldn't believe how light it was. I'm used to carrying around a 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, and I know that's pretty light, but for the bigger footprint of the 15-inch, I was really impressed that, it's not any thicker, and it, barely seems heavier at all. The big thing that's different about it that you get is the bigger 15-inch screen. Okay, other than that, just about everything else is the same as the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, which you can still buy. It's still got a really good keyboard, really good touchpad, very light. It's still got the MagSafe and the two Thunderbolt USB-C ports on one side, audio jack on the other side. Very easy to carry around in your bag. I carry a 13-inch around with me all the time. The 15-inch I could see carrying every day. I think it would get a little bit bulky after a while. If I was doing a 5 days a week commute with it, I would still go with the 13, but the 15-inch really does have a lot of advantages just by having a bigger screen. Now for me, the main advantage of the bigger screen is, frankly, I can see better. I'm already at the point where if I'm working in a Google Doc or something, I got it bumped up to 125%, maybe 135% on my 13-inch screen. On a 15-inch screen, I can probably just read it normal and I won't feel like I'm going blind quite as quickly. Just having access to that bigger screen, if you're going to use this as your all-day, everyday laptop, it's going to sit on your desk, it's going to go to the coffee shop with you, it's going to go to work with you occasionally. I think that bigger screen really pays off because I love 13-inch laptops. I've been promoting them for many, many years as the best overall laptop size, but it's not a 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 job, 40-hour week, sit in front of your computer kind of screen. That smaller 13-inch size is going to wear on you after a while. Now, Apple says that this is the thinnest 15-inch laptop ever. Arguably, that's probably true. I don't know if it's the lightest. I think there are some LG Gram models at 15 inches that are probably a little bit lighter, but it's certainly, in the running for it. So Apple calls it the 15-inch laptop that has it all. I'm inclined to agree with that, unless you need to get really advanced with graphics or anything like that. You need like a discrete GPU. But other than that, this seems like a really good, really portable, powerful MacBook Air. I find a 13-inch M2 version powerful enough for me to use for just about everything, even photo editing, even video editing. As long as you're not doing super high-res, super pro stuff, the regular M2 chip is fine. Now, Apple also promises 18 hours of battery life, and I can say I probably believe that. Most of the MacBooks for the last couple of years have lived up to their battery life expectations, because if you open up a MacBook, what you're going to find inside is basically just a gigantic battery shoved in there with a little bit of computer stuff kind of around the sides, but it's really mostly battery. So if you have a bigger body, then you can fit in a bigger battery than that even, so of course you're going to get better battery life. And of course these are fanless, just like the 13-inch version is, so you don't need to spend energy running fans to cool things, so that can also improve your battery life. And the bigger body is definitely going to be better for heat dissipation, so you get the best of all possible worlds there, and that is going to take that battery life and get it up there, if not 18 hours, at least in the ballpark. Now here's the interesting thing about what this 15-inch MacBook Air is going to cost. When I wrote about it recently before it was announced, I said, it's really just upgrading the screen. It's probably going to keep all the components the same, so $11.99 for the 13-inch, so maybe I'd go $12.99, $13.99. I don't know if I'd go much more than that for a 15-inch version, because you're really just getting a bigger screen. It's $12.99. That seems like a pretty reasonable upgrade to me to get the bigger screen, but at the same time, they took the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, which again, I carry around almost all the time. It was $11.99, which I frankly always thought was a little bit too expensive, and they knocked it down $100. That's now $10.99. Not quite the $9.99 MacBook Air price I always, loved for years, but certainly a lot better. But you can still get that M1 MacBook Air, the first M series Apple Silicon MacBook from a couple of years ago. They're still selling that. That's still $9.99. Although again, for $100 more, I would definitely get the M2 version. And if you want the bigger screen, then $12.99 gets you the 15-inch. They have a pretty good, way of spacing out the pricing, almost like movie theater popcorn, where you kind of go, okay, maybe I can just get the bigger one, the better one. It's not that much more.